number 9.
D100.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sapsford.
Because the slide slippy.
We'll take your report as read. You may comment on it if you wish to do so.
First question, thank you, Mr. Chair, is that everyone received the updated, the red line version of the submission? Thank you. So I'll just briefly take you through, one, the reason for the update, and
Move the microphone down towards you.
and also take you through just briefly the position that we're advocating for this submission. So in respect to why we've deposited some new material on your desks this morning, the consultation timeframes are very tight. We got this document here a number of days, a few days before the actual agenda item was finishing, so we put together our best submission. Since then, last Friday, I attended a workshop in Rotorua hosted by MFE on this issue, and yesterday spent the day in Wellington working with Local Government New Zealand and a few other councillors nutting through some of these issues, which is as a result of the discussion and briefing and further information provided by MFE. I thought it pertinent to update the submission which was put in front of you through the agenda item. I'll take the submission in the item as read, but just wanted to reiterate the key themes behind the submission. Our main thoughts when assessing this document was what impact does it have on TDC's resourcing and statutory obligations? Does it provide us with more resourcing issues in respect to costs and implementation issues and time and pressures on staff, etc.? Does it expand the statutory ambit of what councils are supposed district councils are supposed to be doing as opposed to regional councils? And also, what effect does it have on Taupo District Council's district plan as it currently stands in respect to, is it going to weaken it, strengthen it, or provide high degrees of complexity? So that was the thinking behind the submission points here.
Councillor Kelly.
Mr. Chairman, I thought that Mr. Sapsford was looking a little weary because he's got a relatively new baby, but if we could just thank him for these huge efforts in the last 48 hours. I would be very happy to indicate that I'd like to move the suggested resolution but amended. Mr. Sapsford may help with what I'm suggesting and may improve upon it, but that the amended attachment 1, and this is what I presume is the amended attachment 1, the white paper. The reason I'm suggesting this is that we depend very much on our professionals in this planning area, and this is the first crack at what government is proposing, and we are asking for a second crack when the draft policy comes out from government, and I think that's where we need to put a very, very strong submission in. It's very difficult for our officers to try and mind read some of the things that are behind these suggestions from government, and so I'd like to think that maybe the suggested resolution could strengthen up on governance supporting the need for government to give us a second crack at the action in terms of a second consultation process on the draft legislation.
Just a query on that. Do we get a second crack, or is this a one-off situation?
Indications from the Ministry on Friday is that no. Generally, you only have one tranche of consultation when developing these documents. Although it was a very clear message was raised at that session and others previously, under my understanding, is that this is a very ambiguous document. It's a discussion document. There's no certainty. The definitions are all over the place. No one knows where they stand, and we really don't even know if it actually achieves the intent of the NES. Therefore, sending a clear message to, here's our comments, go away, do some more work, come back with something a wee bit more definitive, and yes, we would like to be involved in that, please.
So I would be suggesting, and perhaps the staff could help us put together a second part to the resolution, something along the lines that the Taupo District Council acknowledges that this submission is only on a discussion document and request of the Ministry of the Environment a second opportunity to submit on more definitive draft policy or draft legislation. I'm not sure which is the best word. Legislation? Policy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, just in relation to a couple of points I want to make first is, have we had any discussion with the New Zealand forest managers who manage our plantation forestry?
I have discussed this with Seth Bell, who is basically looks after our forests. The main question is this standard going to prevent us replanting our forests come harvest time? At this stage, the response is we are unsure due to the nature of the discussion document, but the comments are that it probably won't prevent it, but there are opportunities and positions where it may make it more difficult through the consenting process. We haven't spoken directly to New Zealand forest managers formally on this matter. I have had a number of offline discussions with one of the staff members at the MFE roadshow last week, but because they have the liberty of having a bit more time, they hadn't sunk their teeth in it as yet. Our thoughts are that the forestry companies generally may not be 100% happy with this document, as it doesn't, our view, it doesn't actually achieve what it is set out to do, and that is provide more certainty that forestry companies, when they plant their pine trees, they can harvest them in 25, 35 years' time.
The other issues too that perhaps we need to have some discussion about. I actually, contrary to what you've written here on page 9 by 5 regarding the issue of setbacks from waterways, I can offer first-hand experience through my attendance as a council representative on the Upper Waikato Liaison Committee for Environment Waikato that afforestation too close to waterways presents a never-ending problem. Firstly, trees can tip over and the soil is dislodged and erosion occurs, sedimentation. And then at the time of logging, the close proximity of logging traffic and logging apparatus in the close vicinity of waterways is also damaging. And I wondered whether or not we should, there is a code of practice adopted by the forestry industry, and I think some perusal of that may actually at least lend some conformity to the current code of practice and what may be intended in a national standard. The other issue I've got, for what it's worth, I know that, and this is about on top of page 9 bar 6, wilding trees. Pinus contorta, whilst they are a weed and it currently is a regional council issue regarding noxious plants, I think it would be the last thing we'd want if for our district to have in our national heritage area on the national park wilding contorta. So I think that we do have an interest in that respect. I don't know whether I can offer any how the national standards be altered to, but I believe that wilding trees are an issue to our council because they can be quite a pest on national park.
Mr. Setford.
Thank you, Councillor. If I can respond, I guess, to those two questions. Our responses are in respect to the standard and I guess what it imposes on Taupo District Council, potentially, and under the district planning framework. Setbacks from rivers is generally a hydrology issue, which is an issue which sits firmly with regional councils. So therefore it's not seen as something which Taupo District Council should be assessing resource consents as they come through. We don't have the in-house technical skills to be able to do that, and we would potentially be duplicating a function of the regional council unnecessarily. So that's where those comments primarily come from. Also, the query of having setbacks from national significant waterways when no such things exist generally or aren't defined, how would you set up a rule? How would you define what a nationally significant waterway is? We would obviously look for guidance from national level government to be able to undertake that activities. And I guess
we do have wild and scenic rivers in our district.
I guess the thing is that this is...
But I think, Councillor Welsh, what Mr. Safford is trying to say, this draft thing that has come out in the format it's in gives no clear guidance for councillors like ourselves to say, yes, we agree with setbacks from streams or we don't agree. They made a comment about significant. Now, they should give a definition of what significant is. You and I know that the Tongariro River is a significant river. So is the Turangi-Tongariro, maybe the Waimarino. But when you start getting smaller, are those rivers significant, as determined by the people who are writing this paper? And I think that's what the staff are trying to say. Going back, they agree. And if you look on the amended one on the second page it is submitted that if the setbacks from waterways are added, that there is a clear national direction as to what constitute waterways of significance. And I think that's and we would concede, we would be the first to concede, as I belong to the Lake Taupo liaison catchment areas with regards to planting trees, etc., close to waterways and that, of the same concern. But that's all that paper is saying, and I think with Councillor McKelvey's amendment, what it's saying, well, hang on a minute, you guys, you're trying to write a paper, and you don't really know what you're writing. You haven't given any guidance. We're trying to help you here. And hopefully that through discussions that you will come up with a proper draft for people then to properly comment on.
Well, I suppose, Chair, it's perhaps in the words in with regard to setbacks. I mean, I have a concern now, and I always have had, and you have one. It's just the fact that it says we don't have a concern. So that's what I've picked up on. And
I understand what you're saying, and Mr. Safford's hopefully is going to give us an explanation for we don't have a concern. Comment.
Again, it comes back to what is the function of a district council, and this is the same for Wilding Pines. We don't have a pest management function. That is regional council. So it doesn't say we don't agree with this or we do agree with this. Basically, what we're saying is that as far as the ambit of our function under a district council, we're neutral on it. But the main thing is that we don't want to have any more functions which are regional functions, which then mean more costs, more compliance costs, duplication functions.
Can we not say that, so that rather than saying we do not have a concern, which gives a different understanding?
We can amend those bits to refer to regional functions only for those matters.
That would be useful.
Yeah, some of the...
Sorry, Reagan, did you have anything else?
Yeah, no, that was what I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, is that perhaps just simply with rewording, which makes the sense clear that it is not actually that the responsibility. Doesn't mean that we're not concerned about it, because we are, but that is not our function.
Yeah, I totally agree, particularly with the welding trees. It is an issue for the district council, but it's not our responsibility. But certainly in national park, it's a huge problem. So I think just the wording choice would be a little bit comfortable.